Welcome back to another episode of CityLife Uncensored. Pretty excited for today's episode. Got a really good friend of mine, and we've been working together down here in the South Side quite a while now. I think, right, 2, 3, 4 years at this point. Yeah. Good friend Rachel Maga, welcome.
Thank you.
Rachel is the president and founder of 10-4 Social, which is a marketing company that mostly specializes on the social platforms. She has social studios where they do the self photography and different things of that nature. But mainly, right, the focus is on the socials. And she's worked with us a ton in the past on some special projects and different things at CityLife. So excited to have you. I know you a little bit here before we dive into things. So start at the beginning. What's the story? Give it to us.
So I'd say, as with most moms, all the stories start with when you start having babies and where that journey can take you. So for me, I have 2 little boys, and my oldest is 9, and he has his own company. He's doing wonderful. We'll talk more about that here in a little bit.
We're gonna have to get into that.
We'll definitely get into that.
I got questions already.
Crushing it. And then my youngest is 8, and he's a huge part of my entrepreneurial journey story, because when I was 6 months pregnant with him, I was working at Dick's Sporting Goods in their marketing and media division, which truly thought that's exactly what I went to school for. This is the company that I want to be with, and realized that maybe corporate America wasn't for me very quickly. So me being very, very pregnant, went to my husband and said, I think I'm going to start a social media agency. Sure. Has no idea what that means.
So this is, I guess this is about 8.5 years ago now, huh?
Right.
8.5,
yeah,
9
so I was
years
25. And I had no idea what running a social media agency could look like.
Are you from Pittsburgh?
No. So number one, timing is like not right? Like that's not the time you start any company, when have 2 under 2. But so timing wasn't perfect. I'm not from around here. I'm from 3.5 hours northeast. So I had no family connections. Went to school at Robert Morris, so I maybe knew a couple college friends out this way.
So you moved to Pittsburgh when you went to Robert Morris, and then
college.
Stayed here?
Yep.
Got it.
Yep. So timing wasn't right. I didn't have the connections. I had 0 experience in anything social media, other than I had a Facebook at the time. But I knew that the way that I felt at working for any employer that I had up at that point just felt like I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't excited. I dreaded going to work.
So when you were Robert Morris grad, I'm assuming obviously marketing was your major.
Mm-hmm. Well, I did 3.5 years of nursing school.
Oh, really?
And then switched into business.
Okay, why did you switch from nursing into business?
Short story of it is I was doing home health care for an elderly lady. She passed away, not on my watch, but I went to her funeral, and the family was consoling me because I grow way too attached to people.
Okay. The
whole relationship side of me that we'll talk more about as well. But it just wasn't, my husband's a police officer. How he can separate life and work is incredible. It's not me at all.
Gotcha. Okay. So it was your first job out of Robert Morris at Dick's then?
It was Post-Gazette doing inside sales. I told them I should be in outside sales. They didn't agree. So then I got offered the job at Dick's. And I literally threw myself a party. I mean, everybody knew I got that job. I was so excited. And then wonderful company. I still have a lot of friends that are high up there. So nothing bad about Dick's, but it just wasn't for me. So that's why I started.
So how long were you at Dick's?
I was at the Post-Gazette and Dick's for 1 year each.
So 2 total years, corporate America, out of college, out of Robert Morris, till you said I had enough.
Yep. While
being pregnant with your second child, when you have one at, I guess, at 1 year old at the time.
18. They were 18 months apart. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I only knew that I wanted to do something I was going to be excited about, and that's all I needed, and have a supportive husband that for some reason was like, all right, let's do this. And that's kind of how it all started. But the come up story of it is I had to go to a networking event because I signed up for, it's not even a networking event, it was like gala. It was a fancy event. And I was talking to this gentleman there.
By the way, I just want to stop you there. Being that you're in sales and marketing, everything is a networking event. Everything
ask your
is
wife when she, right now, if she is ready to go to every single networking event there is.
She doesn't. She refuses to come to anything with me right now.
All right. So you just was not trying to go to that one.
That's fair.
But when anyway,
trying to go or not trying to go. I guess my point is, my point was more around you said, it was a gala, not really a networking event. My counter to you was,
okay,
come on, we know everything's a
okay.
networking event
Well,
because everything's an
this-
opportunity.
This goes into
Galas.
this, right?
Full
So
Yeah.
I'm talking to this gentleman, and he came up and he was, he's like, "What do you do?" And it's like, I just signed my LLC. Like, I do social media. Like, I don't even know how to say it yet.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have a client. I manage their social. I hate it. I want nothing to do with it. Too old for it. Not ready to learn it. He has Twitter right now and all this. And I was like, okay. He's like, can we talk tomorrow? Sure. Calls me the next day. I'm sitting at my dining room table, and he goes, so this account this person, my client, is Jerome Bettis. And I was like, fabulous. Restaurant down by
Shout out
Heinz
Jerome.
Field. I can do a restaurant. That's a perfect first client, right? He's like, no. Him, like his social media. He was like, we have over 100,000 followers on Twitter. There's this Instagram thing that I think that we need to create. Can you do that? And I literally, from that minute on in the call, just said, Like, I had no other words. So he was like, okay, so can you send me over the, proposal, outline everything? He was like, follow back up with, the agreement, the contract. I literally just kept saying, And for 72 hours, don't recommend anybody to do this. Did not eat, sleep, drink. I literally Googled my way through that entire process because I didn't have anybody.
Yep.
Like, I didn't have my Casey to literally call and be like, Casey, what do I do right now? So I just Googled it. And so from fast forward, I went to the Super Bowl with him. I went to the Hall of Fame induction with him, sat beside his wife, Tramika, literally cried again like I was part of their family. And
I didn't know this story. This is awesome.
And this is first client, it sounds like.
First client ever.
How do we go 3 years and you wait to tell me this on my podcast?
You never invited me on before.
First time, everybody. You're getting.
Wait, how
I'm hearing
long
it just
ago-
like you all.
How many years ago was this?
9 years,
Yeah.
8.5.
Yeah, 8, yeah.
Yeah, because her son's 8.
Mm-hmm.
You were still pregnant.
I was trying to, so that's right when Bettis retired, like was like one of his
A little bit.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
'cause he had-
Super Bowl and so 5 years after he retired, right? Because he'd have been a first ballot.
Yeah.
So we were, trying to figure that whole world out, and we were at the Super Bowl, and we were getting drinks right before. Super Bowl life is intense. There is a lot of events, parties, radio. I mean, it is constant. I don't know how they keep up. So we were at.
Wait, was it Super Bowl time or was it
Super Bowl time? This is Super Bowl, not a Hall. I went to the Minnesota Super Bowl with him.
He was still playing?
No.
Oh,
No.
okay.
He was in media, right?
Right.
Is that
So he
why?
was on ESPN
Got it,
as
yeah.
one of the analysts. So he had to do media row, had to do all the
Yeah.
appearances,
Cool.
still all of that. So we're sitting there, and I was talking to Jamal, his business manager, and I was like, Jamal, what were you thinking hiring a white girl that knows nothing about football to manage Jerome's social? You could have put this out and got thousands of people that are way more qualified than me. And he said, I don't remember this. I don't know what I said that night at the gala, but he said, you talked about who you were and what your core values were when we were talking. And he goes, the only thing I look for and surround Jerome with are good people and help them succeed. He was like, you talked about wanting to, help and build and, but I had no idea who I was talking to, right? So that's what, anytime I get the opportunity to talk to different groups, that's why I always come back to the core values, because when you just live out your own DNA and stop trying to say that my core values are this, or this is who I am. And if it's not truly you, it's never going to shine through like it truly is you. So that's how I got Jerome as client number one.
We've talked about that in the past, right? It's like, even for me, I don't believe that I'm a salesman, but people always say you're an accountant, but you're normal and cool and you're really good at sales. And people say that because I just am myself and be true to myself in everything I do. And it comes off that. And I'm confident because I don't have to fake or think or try to do anything. It's just be myself and be confident in that. And obviously Brian will tell you comes off overconfident a lot of times, but that's true, right? Be true to your core values. And we preach that a ton at CityLife. So I love to hear that. It's awesome.
Yeah. So that's the come up story. That's client one.
So
client two was not near as exciting.
client one's Jerome Bettis, right? Media row at the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
So you're pregnant then, or is this?
No, that's after.
So you kind of progressed into.
That was me giving the baby.
So this
to
is
Eric
when.
and
So
said, good luck. I'm leaving for a week.
Which I'm sure was very difficult for him because I couldn't imagine
Thanks,
that. I always mess with Kelsey because when we had our first, she was she went away to it was right at the time when all of our friends were getting married.
Mm-hmm.
So she did some bachelorette parties, and man, was that difficult.
You had some long weekends.
Very long. That's Mom.
That's right, exactly.
Block your calendar off for the whole weekend. We've got some plans here.
Like, what have you been doing all weekend? Man? It looks like you've been partying all weekend. It's like, no, man, I'm tired.
So that's when 10-4 was born, right? So basically, Jerome Bettis gave birth to 10-4 Social.
For sure, hands down. I remind him of it any chance that I can. It was just, again, he helped so much, and it wasn't even just about the name. And I guess maybe that's why I don't get like the starstruck, or I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm so excited to meet this person or talk to this person, because when you boil every single, and you both know this, you go into a first time meeting with somebody that has this big name, and you're like, wow, you really are just a normal person.
Yeah.
Like, you're just out here doing your best, just like the rest of us. And I think that kind of helped me to understand that aspect of it. But then from the social side of it, I want to talk about overanalyzing literally everything, because any post that I put out could have ended a lot of endorsement deals.
So how do you think about that? Let's dive into that a little bit, right? I like where you just took this, because obviously social media and what it's become, and that idea of once it's out there for the world to see. And we see all these, John Morant, the NBA star, just got caught with his gun a second time, and what that's doing to him and what that does. Like, how do you think about that when you're managing Jerome Bettis's account?
I think whether you're Jerome Bettis or you're the pizza shop down the road, it's not a plug for my agency, but it's the importance of having somebody look out for you. If you're going to be out there and you're going to be putting out your own content, and you don't have everything under the magnifying glass that a team that's trained on, or it at least cares enough to look through, is where things go wrong. When we did a littlest bit of work for Antonio Brown, when I also said that we couldn't continue, but it was the posting content for yourself, and then there was still having somebody to post it for you doesn't work either. Like, you have to trust that person and allow that person to put that message out there in the way that best represents you. And that's why it's so important to look through it from that. But it's important to not just look at it from a surface level. It's being aware of what's going on behind you, right? So some of the high profile individuals that we work with have spent time in Southside, and they will send photos and be like, hey, you want to put this out? No, thank you. Like, we'll talk about it tomorrow. But it's just to have that, that counter of what is the point of this right now?
You need a filter.
You need a filter. That's it. And, and I'm guilty of it, right? I have a whole team, and I come up with these content ideas. I'm like, hey, I need you here. I need to do this. I need that. And my team's like, we can talk about it. Maybe we'll put it in a week or so and kind of see. And then it's like, oh yeah, I guess maybe we do need to put a little bit more thought into this first. So even I need it for myself. But so it's the filter of it is just so important.
How do you go about capturing that then real time, right? To your point, maybe it's not sell side where you're being an idiot at a bar drunk and getting that on social media, but when you're at events and you're doing different things, and Brian's at a property tour where we want to get not live footage, but really real time footage, but we don't maybe have the ability to have photographers there and video guys there, etc. Like, how do you go about that piece of it and the complexities that comes with making sure you have that filter when maybe the timing isn't right to have the filter?
It's making sure that whoever is going to have that control is trained to the best of their ability, right? If you're going to have Brian's done a little bit on social media. So I feel pretty confident he'll know what to do. If you give it to, your contractor team and say, hey, just start posting, they're going to be posting for a different purpose and a different message than what CityLife naturally wanted. So it's just kind of having that knowledge and training. Again, not a plug for 10-4, but we do have 10-4
Shout
skills.
out 10-4.
And it's a whole online course. So it's literally created for that person that you just mentioned of, hey, I'm going to have you run our social. You're going to do everything. But I also want these 3 people on my team to be trained from your team to the best that they can, in the sense that we have this that we want somebody to run down to. Now they at least know the do's and don'ts. And as an employer, you can kind of come back and be like, hey, like, you were certified in this now. You knew that wasn't how you were supposed to handle that one. So it's just that helpful balance.
That makes sense. So going back to 10-4 here, right? So Jerome Bettis gives birth to 10-4 Social, right? Obviously incredible learning opportunity for you during that time. So tell me more about how the company's progressed along the way, and what what you've learned, maybe some challenges that
Yeah.
you face along the way, right? Because you've been running essentially a marketing company for 8-9 years. You and I talk offline a lot, right? You've gone through challenges, you've had some ups, you've had some downs, and anybody would in a small business in a small city of Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
Right. So what has the journey of entrepreneurship been like for you over these last 8 years?
What a good question. I would say the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, right? I mean, there is a strong struggle of mom guilt 24/7, no matter what. I'm working through that. I'm trying to get better about it. But I mean, there's been planes that I've got on and I am like sobbing because one, I know I don't really need to be going on this trip, right? It's the speaking opportunities that I love and I get excited about, but do I also want to miss a baseball game over it? You know, it's that constant back and forth. And I love my boys so much. And I know they're not gonna be little forever. So that is the hardest part for me, is to know what can help grow the business, but also know that I only get Cade kissing me through the fence for like 6 more months and he's gonna be too cool for it. So I'm eating up that time. So that is by far of everything. And I mean, we have had a lot of things that we've gone through, like any business owner in that amount of time. We've had a sexual harassment. We've had, break-ins. We've had so much happen. We've had PR nightmares for clients that, again, we had no idea how to navigate through COVID. And we came out and they ended up being one of our best clients out of it. So it's a constant knowing, and this is the biggest thing. And I like to think that this is just God helping to guide us all in the right direction. But for me, in my experience, and I'm sure you guys can relate, the times where you're like, I'm done with this. There is no way I'm going to keep doing this. The next day, every single time, the biggest opportunity comes, and you're like, you're right.
It's almost like train yourself to say that. Train yourself to say that so that okay, I need an opportunity here. I might as well tell myself I'm done because it's coming at that point, right?
Literally, like it's coming. But that's why not everybody should be an entrepreneur, right? My husband, he is so wonderful at what he does. It's just a totally different mindset. He loves having his paycheck be the exact same every 2 weeks, no matter what. And he really struggles with mine sometimes non-existent ones from a time or two. But it's the highs and lows with it, and you just have to embrace it and love it, or don't, right?
That's what I was going to ask you, right? And I think Brian probably just goes for the two of you because obviously you have 2 little ones now and yours are growing up quick, but like for me, my son just turned 2 and I have another one on the way, so I'm a little bit behind both of you. And right, I'm a part of the boardroom mastermind and travel, and I don't miss those no matter what because of the opportunity, right? So for me, for that, mindset wise, I know where it's taking me. I know where it's taking CityLife and everybody that I love and within the CityLife family. So it's easy, right? But a lot of times, some other trips, I'm speaking down in Miami next week, and like you could ask Leandra, right? I've probably canceled it 5 times now and then put it back on the schedule, right? Because it's so difficult for me to make the decisions of traveling or not. What are some like tricks you guys use to be able to kind of work through, right, the long nights, right, Brian? You always have those, or the traveling that comes with some of this stuff that you've got. And the big difference is when it's just a job, right? Like it's easy just to say, hey, my boss is making me go because I traveled 60% of my time for 9 years, right? Like boss is making me go. I have no choice. Boom, I'm going. Now I get to make the choice as an entrepreneur, but it makes it that much harder. So like, what are some tricks you guys use?
I mean, the hardest, I wouldn't call it tricks. Whenever your kids get a little bit older, it makes it easier. Like if my kid, if Bryson or Santa was still 2 or like just born, like they're not as, like you see them every day. You love them. They love you, but they're not communicating the way. Like Santa knows if I'm going away, she gets sad. Like we talk and like she's going to miss me. Same with Bryson. So, and they have events that you're going to be letting them down for. Like Sienna does jujitsu. She has gymnastics. She had a softball game last night. Like she's already super busy. Bryson's in soccer. And he's like, hey, where's dad? And like, he asked those questions and he's only 3. So whenever you're leaving that behind, it makes it a little bit tougher. when they couldn't speak or in that changes things a little bit. You're leaving a lot on wife. So Sabrina always was super supportive and like super awesome, knowing I'm gonna work late, knowing I'm gonna like be there, not mentally fully present. But now whenever the kids start growing up, the kids notice it. So you don't want them growing up noticing that their dad was not present all the time. So whenever I take all that into consideration with it, same time as I love opportunity. I do like traveling. I love relationships. I love like building business. I love
Mm-hmm.
like seeing like going to boardrooms, absolutely incredible. The amount of opportunities there and the amount of like creative, like my brain's been going crazy for 2-3 days
Yeah.
straight now.
I've had a headache for 2 days now since I
Yeah,
left.
and it's
so
like
get it.
I told Sabrina, I was like, I can't catch up with all the ideas because we still got a lot of shit to do on top of all the stuff we want to add. And I love that though. I mean, that's what keeps me going too. So there has to be some give and take. But whenever your kids start getting a little bit older, I think it does really help. Like it makes the decisions way easier where you still got to prioritize, and family's a big priority.
I think probably too, they probably start to learn that they can see daddy's passion or see mommy's passion and excitement for what that is. And so they can relate to that some or start to relate. Hey, you're going to play softball. How exciting is that? Hey, I'm going to, close this business deal. How exciting is this for me, right?
I think what you're just saying though, right? Like it's all about like work and presence, right? Like when you're there, like I am so bad, and I keep saying I put the boys to bed every night. I literally snuggle with them. I know there's a lot of you shouldn't do that every night for as long as I do, but like that is my time with them. I will lay in bed with them until they fall asleep. But when they're really, really close to falling asleep, I 1,000% grab my phone and check emails. Like, and nothing is going to happen in those 10 more minutes. And I'm like, I need to just be with them. And then Kate will turn around and be like, Mom, put it down. I'm like, oh, I know. So like that, just being present in those times when you can be, just do it, right? No text message needs to go out, right? Like just be there at the games, be there, because you do see the mom or dad like on his computer at the games. Like I know everybody's in a different situation, but like be there when you can be there. I think that's a huge part in it. And two, literally what you were just saying is like, no 9-year-old starts a business on their own without seeing me doing it. He listens to the podcast with me. He gets on all my like Zoom calls when I'm at the house, and he puts in way too much opinion after we hang up. But like, I think that's why like they see that and then they get excited, and that's 1,000%. I'm like, all right, let's go do something really cool with kids being entrepreneurs now. But like that would never happen if we didn't create that space and that positivity and that excitement around it. They wouldn't even know to start to even be thinking about that.
Yeah. I think too, the one big thing that I've been able to do when I'm on the road now, specifically more than I still extremely struggle with the present at home thing right now. My kids just starting to talk, and so I'm starting to get better at it. But before I didn't, I wasn't as good. But when I'm on the road, one thing that I've really done is when I'm there, I use my kids and my wife for like, if I'm not going to be at home, I'm going to go full out when I'm at this event. Right. So I struggle in certain social settings and networking events. And especially when I'm overloaded with ideas, I want to go comprehend them. But the last few trips, I'm like, look, I'm going from 6 a.m. Well, TJ makes me work out at 5 a.m. So I'm going from 5 a.m. till midnight the entire time I'm here, and I'm not stopping, and I'll rest when I get home, because again, if I'm going to be away, sacrificing this time, I better maximize the opportunity to return. So that's been another thing that's really helped me justify the traveling piece, the difficulty of the traveling piece, especially with a 9-month, pregnant wife and a 2-year-old that she's chasing around the house all day. So
I think one thing with it to add to that is too, and I think with the first year, because I'm still trying to navigate it a little bit, is them actually seeing that is a part of it. That way it's not so sporadic, where it is like, hey, this is consistent. This is a part of business. Like traveling, doing that could be a part of business, and it is a good part of business. Instead of leaving them like completely sheltered to it, let them know like, hey, we're going to be traveling in a few months, and this is important. This is important for business. Talking to them seeing that they're very understanding too. Like children understand and they adapt very quickly. Again, being present, as long as you are present whenever you are there, they're going to respect that. They're going to love that. And it's going to open up more opportunities for them as well. So
Right. And it's exciting when they get excited, when you come back, right? How'd it go? Who did you know what I mean? Like when you include them in, I know it's a little hard conversation.
I just
right
get
now.
that.
But like when you are excited to share it with them instead of being, so and I had to figure this part out too, is like I would be so sad that I was leaving that it made them more sad. But then when I was excited and like talking to them about what I'm going to be doing and all of that, like then when I got back, they were excited. You know what I mean? They're going to feel off your emotions. So
100%.
For sure.
Do you have any non-negotiables in your world when it comes to this topic specifically of children and family and work, meaning stuff that you were like forbidden? I know a lot of people have different, what they call non-negotiables, right? I just saw a buddy of mine's, one of his non-negotiables, never miss a birthday no matter what, right? Which I think that's pretty obvious, right? I'm definitely never going to miss a birthday, but any non-negotiables that you have that you kind of are unique to you, or, if not, that's okay.
No,
too,
I mean, mine are games, like wrestling matches and games. Like the world better be like, something has to be happening and it has to be enormous or it has to be really blowing up, because I am like the sports mom. Like I love cheering for him. I love being there. So it has to be pretty ridiculous for me to even consider missing one of those.
Love that. What about you, big dog?
I was gonna say that's a commitment.
And there's so many
there's a
of
lot.
them.
Yeah, especially having two.
Yeah, only one does sports. I got that.
I would love to say birthdays, but I think our daughter actually went away on her first birthday. She was in France, so I've already missed
Can't be birthdays.
Happy birthday.
It's only been 6.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I already missed one, so I think that's already kind of set. No, I think the big one is it's the presents. Like I think I'm never going to it promises. If I ever make a promise to a kid, like one of my kids, I'm always going to keep it. I don't care what it is. I think birthdays and stuff's going to come up at some point. Sure. So I don't want to say that's non-negotiable, but I think a promise.
Do what you say you're going to do.
Right.
100%.
Which I think is like the one trip that I was not well on was my Texas trip. And so Bryce was having like a arts and craft show, for lack of better words. But when you get like all the different vendors, and he had his table set, and it was so simple. We had it perfectly set up. My mom was there. Eric's mom was there. I literally wasn't even needed there. And one of my friends took a picture of him at his table and sent it to me, and it rocked my world. I'm like, oh my God, I am not there. When like we all knew I wasn't going to be there the whole time, but it's just that like seeing it, I was not well afterwards. So
now that we're on the topic, right? Like let's dive in a little bit into, because I do find kidpreneurs fascinating. And matter of fact, I had a migraine last night, so Shark Tank was on my TV because I couldn't move out of bed, so I needed to watch something. So it was Shark Tank, and there was a kid entrepreneur on there, and I literally almost started crying. I was so proud of this child for his Shark Tank presentation, right? So you have a 9-year-old that's heavy into business. I see it on social, and it's rocking it. We talked about it several times. So give us more. What's this about?
So again, 2 boys, right? So you think you're gonna have 2 boys 18 months apart. They're gonna be the exact same human, right? They're gonna be into the same things, or it's gonna be simple, right? No. They could not be more different. Like Cade is so competitive and athletic and driven, and Bryce he would be in this room.
Cade's the youngest.
The youngest. Yeah,
Bryce, the 9-year-old is the one with the business.
9-year-old. But like Bryce would be like messing with all the controllers, and he would be reformatting all of your cameras right now. Like he is such a tech interested, why does this do this kind of a kid. So his teacher reached out to me last summer, and she was like, you should really look into some STEM programs, because he does no sports. Like we've tried. And he like laughs at us. He's like, no. And so she was like, you should look into some of these summer camps. Lifelong Entrepreneur. Missed all those dates to sign them up, because they fill up very quickly if you didn't know that. And so I was like, well, there goes that. And so she was like, try to do something like hands-on with them. I'm like, all right, sure. So started looking into, there was a laser engraver. It was like a desktop version. It was like $1,300. I was like, no, we're not doing that. And so kept looking into more social media ads, right? They will get you. So instead, I started getting all the commercial grade laser engravers.
Okay.
So started looking into those. The one that he has is now 1,600 pounds. It's 8 feet by 5 feet by 5 feet. He has a full shop in our basement. and he does all custom wood, metal, glass, engraving, cutting. He does massive signs for different companies, all out of acrylic. But his big go-to that he's become really, really passionate about are they're 3-foot long American flags. And then you can put like on the right side of it, like a sports or like a message, an inspirational quote in it, something like that. So he's been doing a lot of those. He gets so excited about the programming side of it, because I don't know if you're all familiar with programs like this, but it's like this layer is the cut layer, this layer is the engrave layer, this layer. So it's a lot. It is a lot to understand. And that's kind of so he's got into it. Not gonna lie, it's a lot of work on the whole family.
Yeah. So what's that look like? What's the workload look like for him and for mom and dad?
His staff's pretty cheap.
He's got free staff,
free office, free shop space.
Trust me, we remind him of it.
Yeah, man, I'd be charging rent for that garage.
If you're gonna teach him the business, you got to teach him.
Oh, we are. Don't you
expenses.
worry. So
I know an accountant.
He needs one. So he does all the programming. The only thing that he doesn't do is the like spray paint in the house. Okay. Obvious reasons, like, kind of like my basement. So like things like that, Eric and I help. Eric helps with the gluing, the nailing, but the machine literally does everything. Like you just take the material, put it in, program everything on the Mac, and hit start, and it does all of it in the machine. So you don't massage, you don't have anything, anything of that sort. But I'll kind of say how his co-op story. Little stinker posted a Instagram reel that he was making Christmas ornaments and got 250 orders of Christmas ornaments in 2 weeks.
It's awesome.
Put mommy to work. Put mommy to work.
It was awesome though, right? So like again, power of social, and it's the whole kidpreneur. That's what he calls himself. He's like, I'm a kidpreneur, and he loves it so much. But it's the mom world again of like the balance of like how much pressure do you put on, how much do you really expect of them, how much do you pick up, right? So it's we're learning this as we go. And it's just been fun. So
that's awesome.
What's the answer to that?
It's a great question.
It's like when we get all these orders, I mean, should we double it?
Oh no! Every order goes out for certain. I'm not proud to say this. I have slept beside the machine maybe more nights than one. Literally just hitting start and then going back and hitting start again for him. But it's just trying to crunch. He did a ton for Mother's Day. This is the last kind of project I'll tell you about. But Mother's Day he did 130 cutting boards. So it's really, really cool because the people were taking photos of their mom's recipes and just taking their iPhones, taking a picture of it. Then he takes the picture, he traces it on his iPad in the mom's handwriting, and then engraves the recipe on the cutting board in the mom's handwriting.
Oh, that's cool.
Sick.
So it's super, super, super cool, which again is why like he got a lot of orders. But that like he just gets so excited, and then the videos and the messages and the notes that he gets back from people, he gets so
probably incredible.
Make sure you should save all that. That way you have it for when it goes up.
For sure.
So do we have a lifetime sales number that we're? Do we know what that is?
No. No. Doesn't any of that surprise you? No, he's been doing good with it.
Yeah,
he's been doing good with it.
That's fun. That's super cool.
I
literally, I mean, I don't ever want to wish a minute away from with my son and soon to be second son, right? But like, I'm so excited to be able to. You guys know me well enough, both of you. It's probably going to be like 5 years old where I'm going to be making him like analyze my deals. Like he's going to be doing the underwriting for us at 5 years old. Hopefully, I'm so excited for that.
I don't even know if I want to put this on her because some of the neighbors live on my street. They friends with them, but we have a corner lot in a neighborhood filled with kids and walkers. I was like, Sienna has to set up something right there on a corner, whether like selling watermelon slices, not lemonade, something else different every day.
Yeah, that's the creativeness of Brian. We're not going to sell lemonade because lemonade's too basic.
And I know anytime I drive by one of those stands in the neighborhood, I always just hand somebody. I don't even want the fruit or the drink. I always just hand somebody $10-20.
Yeah, I do too.
Like, she's starting to like show interest in learning about like money, saving money and stuff. And I'm like, I would love it. But how do you like suggest that or push that? And after they do it once, it's like, do we do it every day?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like,
Trust me, I'll be pushing it.
yeah, but
Yeah,
me naturally, I'm like, well, I mean, you just made $100. You
Right.
might want to do that tomorrow and a different product and just do it all.
Take him to the toy store and say, Daddy has no money today. You got to go make your own.
Yeah.
Like they'll figure out how to do it pretty quick then.
So that's why I'm excited to navigate those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it all goes back to like whether you're, whatever age you are in business or however long you've been in business, you're still figuring it out day by day, So no matter what your age is, whether you're 9 or whether you're, in your late 60s, you're still learning every day. You're still adjusting. And I think that that's kind of been the reality check for me of seeing it through Bryce's eyes I just keep telling them, if it's a job you don't know, go research it, go figure it out. We might mess it up 16 times, but 17 will get shipped to their house.
What's your take here on, let's do a little hot take here. Hot take. Just made that segment up, but we're going to do it right now on our live version of our podcast. Right. So the idea of children on social. So you run a social media company, you have a child that's now an entrepreneur, and obviously the two have to collide or otherwise you're not going to have any sales. Right. So there's that mix of things, right? But then there's the entire world of, people have different opinions on if children should just be on social media in general themselves or should we be posting pictures of our kids? What's that look like? Like, what is your take on the world of children and social media, however you want to take it?
So I'm going to answer in 2 ways. One, personally, because that's a shorter answer, and then 2, other opportunities. So 1, for Bryce, so I've managed young singer-songwriters that mom and dad are like, they're gonna make it. I've heard they're the next Taylor Swift. We're gonna pay you to manage their social. They're going to make it. So we learned a lot through that process. I would say you don't hire. Hopefully this client isn't watching. They're no longer a client. You don't hire an agency to run
Shout out client. We're gonna say your name in a second here.
Like if you're going to back to being authentic and like being who you truly are, you don't hire an agency to run a 9-year-old's Instagram, period. So we went down that road, we learned. But for Bryce, it says on there, managed by mom, and it has to. So there's a lot of things that the social accounts, the different platforms monitor all of that, right? So he could never, if it said that, he would get shut down. His TikTok got shut down like 16 times already, and then finally
you're not allowed.
Not allowed to because he's too young.
What's the age?
It fluctuates.
I do know it's you're not. It's in every other country but America. It's 13. No rules.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all. Yeah, I don't know what I'm looking for here, guys, but right. 13 to be on there in every other country. I just saw the CEO of TikTok, the founder of TikTok, say that.
Teenager. As soon as you're a teenager, you're
I don't know. It's different here, I guess, but
it changes a lot, right? So I mean, think of. We're not going to go down that road. There's a lot of things on social media that shouldn't be on social media. There's some kids that have massive opportunities and they still get shut down, right? So it's like these platforms are still trying to figure that whole world out. But so from a parent perspective, I'm all for Bryce being on it. I'm all for, I read all the messages. He does not. So like if you see somebody asking for anything or anything, again, life of being married to a police officer, right? So we're really aware of what messages are coming in. Do we know these people? Do we not know these people? His account's not private. His account is public. And there are a lot of moms that would not be okay with that. But for me, he is building an audience and he's going to keep doing this. So we want people, we've had people in other states buy from him. Like we want that opportunity. And we want him to be able to inspire other people and other kids to do it if they want to. So that is strictly my opinion and my opinion only perspective. From a professional perspective, I talk to a lot of high schools, colleges on how to lose a college scholarship in sports before you get one. So you are obviously a sophomore, junior, you have all these plans to go play for this college team or, get drafted, and you're an idiot on social. And I've seen it happen because I've now am very close with a lot of different recruiters through this process of what one silly tweet can screw up a lifetime of you shooting hoops and you just let it all go. So I love those conversations. And I split it. I invite the moms, the dads, family, the siblings, whoever wants to come. I put all of them on one side and I put all the athletes on the other side of the room. And we, at the end, all have one conversation together. But what I've learned through that process is the parents quite literally don't know how to have the conversation with their kid on what they're putting on social, what they should, like, because the parents aren't educated enough to even know what Snapchat is or what, you know, some of these other platforms are. So all they know is it's really, really bad, right? But the flip of it is all these NIL deals and being seen. I mean, think of us, and when we were kids, we could never get seen like you can be seen now from a sports perspective. So now what we've done is we have partnered up with Rawlings, and we're doing some really cool campaigns with them to help them to go find young athletes and help to give them really, really amazing knowledge on how to handle themselves on social, while also getting some pretty sick bats and gloves along the way. But it's not to the parents. There's so much more value in this company invested in educating my kid on how to be on social versus just saying, hey, here's a bat, you know, do a post of you swinging it and saying that it's the best bat out there. So it's really cool to kind of see how different brands are approaching this differently, all still conversation. And your question though, it's still a kid, right? And kind of, and balancing that.
Let me take this question one other way for you too, right? Along those lines, you know, when you think about social, when you think about the complexity of it or the risk of it and what it does to the mental psyche of the millions and millions of folks that look at it, you know, for 6 to 8 hours a day, right? I think on average, it's 6 to 8 hours a day that the average American is now spending on social media. So 6 to 8 hours, we're constantly being consumed by whatever it is that someone else is putting in front of our face through algorithms, through everything, right? 90% or I don't know, insane amount of percentage of that is geared toward the greatest, you know, idea, the trip that we went on, the vacation, the happy sun, the golf course, all positive, amazing things, right? And so there's a tendency that this could create a depression because that's not my life and I want to live that life, right? All these influencers out there, they're always at the beach, they're in the ocean, they're on a sick yacht. Like that's all we're seeing every day. And so how do you know, what's your take on that idea of how that can influence, which is its goal, but like create depression because look, you know, the average American is hanging out in a podcast room in Southside and not on a yacht in, you know, Belize, right? So how does that, what's your take on that?
Couple different views on it. One, I think it is becoming more based off your age, how you're viewing social platforms. So what I mean by that is I think our age, I think we did a really shitty job of doing exactly that. I'm guilty of it.
Rachel just threw out the S-bomb.
Every single job. Dang. I think that we do, like we are constantly showing that highlight. When you look at kids that are under the age of 16, it's true. It's who they really are. So like they're now so accustomed to social that it's not just this, here's only the good things. It's, I had a really tough day at school today. And they're actually putting it out there and they're having conversations around it. And cyberbullying is a real thing. I'm not going to say that it's not. And that is a huge part when I get to have the opportunity to talk with these students of when you see it, how to step in and how to reach out to that person and not add fuel to the fire. So there's the authenticity and transparency. If we all can be better about that on social, that's going to help to change that dialogue. And I noticed for me personally, like when I put out like a message of like getting an award and not talking at all about the award and talking about the mess of my life that I was in when I received that award, so many more people connected to you see this beautiful magazine, but in reality, like I am really struggling over here. Mm-hmm. So if we all can be a little bit more into being more authentic, the ages under us are going to see that and support that. And a lot of influencers are doing that now. And that's the ones that you have to get to, because if they're more honest, the people who are following them naturally become more honest.
Why do we want followers, right? Why does that matter so much?
It's a funny question because that's something
besides attention and feeling good, right? I mean, which is, again, it can create bigger depression at the end of the day, in my opinion. So what do we really want this for?
I don't know. you can answer that question, but I do find it really funny that the boys, when Bryce puts videos up, that is the very first thing. Like, how many views did we get? I'm like, ew, stop. It doesn't matter. Like, it literally does not matter. But they are big YouTube shorts. I don't know your kids, if they're in YouTube shorts is way bigger than any other social platform for these kids. But it is. I don't have the answer.
So how do you manage your time on social, right? So you run a social media marketing company. And so therefore every client's, it's all about social in your world. You have your own, you're on it, right? Like that idea of your time and commitment to social, the idea of getting depression, this whole world of social, how do you navigate that on a personal level for yourself? When it comes to your business, it comes to you, it comes to all of that, and not spending 18 hours a day staring at Instagram reels.
Really? So I do. I just spend that much time staring at those social platforms. I don't put content out for myself though. And neither is our agency. We do the worst job for ourselves. And because by the time you put all of your energy into all of your clients, the last thing you want to do is go do your own. And we all need to be better about it. When I was planning for the presentation later today, I was like, what's a good example I can use? I'm like, well, that's embarrassing. I literally haven't had a good example in the last 18 months. So it's just, I know I want to be better about it. Stay tuned. There's going to be a challenge coming out here for all of you, that we're going to all kind of try to do this all at the same time to help to support one another and start putting out content when it is all you do all day and you're consuming, but then still creating.
Give me one of the most PG-13, of course, right? Because I'm sure your sons will listen to the podcast. But any embarrassing, crazy stories? And 8 years of social media has got to be some. And you mentioned it earlier, right? Some fires you had to put out for some clients before, right? What's any crazy, embarrassing stories you could share?
It's a great question.
It's got to have one.
Brian, what's yours first?
In 8 years?
Yeah.
Not sure. I don't get embarrassed that easy. Like crazy embarrassed. I mean, I've done some embarrassing shit. I can't think of it.
I would say for me, it is.
Come on, I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire here.
We have to come back to it.
Okay.
Cut.
This is
come
it.
back to.
This is it.
What would you say is the largest challenge you faced in the last 8 years as a company?
Okay. So that can play into the craziest. The biggest challenge we have faced is the only reason why I created the agency is for people to truly love where they come to work. And there was a period of time within 10-4 that it was an unsafe working environment for our employees. And I didn't know. I was very in the dark too. I was the only one that was married. So I wasn't experiencing what a lot of them were experiencing until an employee came with a handwritten, very detailed note of what was going on. So that was what rocked my world the most in everything, is that you create this place that you think that everything is good, but if you're not aware of it and if you don't know what's going on, you are so taken back, and the mother in you hurts to your core when they're being sexually harassed, both verbally and physically, and things that are happening within your office that you have no idea. That was by far the most embarrassing for me as a adult, and trying to, overcome that, which is now why and I do better of asking, right? It's not their fault. They shouldn't have had to come and tell me. I should have, created the space of starting a conversation, but again.
Yeah, I mean, look, how would you know, right?
You don't even know that that's a thing, and you put so much trust in people. And so from when I started the agency, I have, two of you know this, have always looked for a business partner, because I've always felt this, I need somebody to help me and to mentor me and to put me in to bring their knowledge to me. And those are the ones that have rocked things so horribly that they did more bad than good. And that's where I've learned a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love that, right? I think we talk about all the time, and partnerships comes up often in real estate because in order to scale, a lot of times you need partnerships. And, we talk about Brian and I hitting the jackpot, which has allowed us to take CityLife to where we have so quickly, right? And even that along the way, Brian and I have made partnerships that quickly didn't work. And, I think what we're both probably learning a lot is you should take a step back and not jump into certain partnerships as quickly as possible. It's the same reason people don't get married after 2 months. You've got to really get to know each other. And I think it's a learning experience along the way. There's no way really to learn and understand what you're getting yourself into until you do that and learn from it, right? We just don't know what we don't know. So I appreciate you getting vulnerable there for us. Before we start to wrap this thing up, I've got to ask, right? I mean, you're you run a social media agency. You've done it for 8 years, right? And Brian, I want you to agree or disagree because, you have your opinions on social as well. So I want to just, maybe ask you kind of, it don't have to be 3, but top 3, right? What are the top 3 do's and don'ts or top 3 best advice or whatever we could do here really to kind of add a little bit of, value to the audience as far as what maybe they should or shouldn't be doing, a top trend, maybe the right platforms, however you want to take this, but just maybe give me 3 really good pieces of advice for the audience that we can kind of take away from this as it relates to social media. And Brian, feel free to tell they're all wrong and give your own if you want.
Number 1 is find content that you enjoy creating. If you are going to get in front of the camera and you don't want to do it, don't find something that you're excited to share and don't force it. Because the second you're forcing it, everybody is very much aware that you don't want to be doing it just as much as they don't want to then watch it. So it's finding what you get excited to share and put out and just create content around that. Don't try to be the Gary Vee. Don't try to be Grant Cardone. Try to be you and try to help to share your viewpoint and stop thinking that your views have to be the same as A, B, C, and D. So I think that's my number 1. What's your number 1?
I would say number 1, even if you're uncomfortable doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would actually challenge that just a tad, because even if if you're uncomfortable doing videos, if you're uncomfortable doing certain aspects of it, you're probably uncomfortable when I'm extroverted. So I'm never going to be fully comfortable doing social media, but why am I doing it?
Yeah.
I want to create opportunities more than I can see past it. Now hiring somebody though to help you do that, post for you, help you create videos, help you create content and push you to do that. I would recommend if you're very uncomfortable doing it, definitely hire somebody if it doesn't come natural. Right.
But even think of it just as talking to a friend, right? The things that you're so comfortable talking about, talk about those things, right? Don't try to interject this, what do you think is going on with, AI now? You don't care, so don't talk about it, right? So that's the biggest thing is so many people find these trendy words and they're trying to work it into their social. Just talk about the things you're excited to talk about. And that's part of, what I'm trying to preach right now is just enjoy social, enjoy the process, and don't try to be forceful. So my number 2, I would say is, don't burn yourself out. So back to the, doing my own. So much on TikTok's gonna tell you post 3 to 5 times a day, period. You post as much as you can post. If you can get there, by all means, crush it and own it and be super excited. Don't just do it because everybody says this is the amount of times you need to post. You need to post the amount of times you have good content. Don't just try to keep checking that box all day because you're not doing anybody good. What's your number 2?
Look at her putting you on a spot.
No, hold on. I was hold on. I don't have a number 2. No, I guess to what you said, number 1 is don't bullshit.
That's it.
If you're being authentic, just be authentic. Talk about shit you know about. Yeah. If you're forcing stuff all the time, you're going to be uncomfortable doing it, and it's going to come off like you said, and it's going to come off that way. Yeah. I would say you still have to know who your audience is and why. Why are you doing it?
That's your number 3?
Oh, it was, but he can have it.
If Facebook, and know your age. If your age and your demographic, what is the demographic? What is your industry's demographic? Know that and stick to that platform. There's too many platforms. I have never created a TikTok because I don't know the platform, and there's enough with Instagram and Facebook, and a lot of our demographic is
I think you're sellers. On TikTok now.
Am I on TikTok?
Or
There's
coming
that.
soon, I think.
Might be on TikTok.
You know, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, don't try. There's so much to consume out
Yeah.
there and learn.
No, there is.
I think.
By the way, I think the important
part.
important part to note there, right? We're back to the level where we have some teams now helping us. And to your point, you don't know the platform, you're not on the platform, but if there's a reason and a why we should be on there and you need to be on there educating people in the TikTok space, then maybe that's the reason why the team is putting that on there. That's important, not Brian wasting his time,
Right.
energy trying to learn a new platform, trying to think of the content he's
Right.
going to put out there, those things
Right.
to exactly that point.
Yeah. Repurpose all day. So that was my number 3. So I'll kind of elaborate off of that. Not only knowing like the demographics of that as well, but also just pick one thing that you want to own. I'm going to be the best mom entrepreneur in the social media space. Like, pick one small area and dominate it, and you will keep building off of that versus just saying, I'm going to go out there and, you know, start preaching that about all things social to anybody that's going to listen to me.
Yep.
The way that I talk to you and the way that I talk to my team is going to be so completely different. So you need to know the customer avatar and just create content for them instead of trying to be a one size fits all.
Makes sense.
What's the biggest worry you have right now about social media?
I am way too positive of a human. And this is what, like, when I talk with a lot of these students, I know I need to have a little bit more of the fears and the concerns and the things that are coming. I don't allow myself to think of the biggest concern or fear because I have zero control over it. And I think there's far too many people who are in the social space that are so obsessive with the algorithm. The algorithm is going to change whether or not I study it all day, every day. If I just put out really good content for our accounts, they're going to still perform. So I get excited more so than I get the concern and fearful. I get excited when a brand new platform was out. TikTok came out, I was all over it. Everybody's just dancing. I'm like, this is genius. But you know, so I get way too excited about it versus the concerns of it.
Where where do you see yourself going in the next 5 years, right? Obviously, who knows where social will be in general, but you yourself, your business, where's it going?
For me personally, what really fulfills me is helping to inspire and educate and continue to help others. So the teaching side of it is really important to me. So whether that is me teaching at universities, which has been put on the table, but I kind of refuse to go back for my master's. There's a little bit of me that's very against that. But I want to find any platform that I can to help to educate and help people just start. So when I have the opportunity to talk to a room of, you know, new entrepreneurs, that is just starting, like, my story hits home so much to them, right? Because it's literally not having any background or knowledge or anything and literally just starting. So I want to help to encourage people, just do it, right? Mm-hmm. And so if I can help and spread that message, that's where I hope to be in 3 to 5 years.
I love that more than anything, right? Because CityLife's core value number 1 is let's go. Like, just go do it. That's right. The only thing nothing is hard. It's just, we actually heard a presentation. Nothing's actually hard. It's just harder than we want it to be, and therefore we don't do it. But if we just do it, it's no longer hard because we're doing it.
Yeah.
Right?
1000%.
Best advice you can give to everybody listening right now?
That was just start. So I would say best advice is make a list of 5 things that you're incredibly passionate about and go do something really cool with it. If it's starting a business, if it's a hobby, if it's literally just, you know, if you love being an artist and you just start sharing with people how to start painting, I would love to. I'm terrible. But like, if I just had like somebody kind of help me through the process, I think that there's so much with that. I know you said we're wrapping up, but you did say about the, you know, the challenges and the fear of and the negativity kind of from the social aspect for the kids. Playing into that, the knowledge that they're gaining far exceeds the negativity. My grandpa like read books 24/7. I never got to meet him, but my dad tells me. And he just soaked up as much knowledge as possible. And my dad says daily, probably too many times. If he would have had YouTube, he would have been the smartest man in the entire. Like he was so obsessive with learning. We are far more privileged and have way more opportunity. So that's why it's so hard for me to constantly see the negatives of social for students and for youth, because they are in a really, really stinking good place from that.
I love that so much, right? I say this literally all of the time about people don't realize the value of the education they're getting, and everybody worries so much about the extra dollar. We talk about in wholesale, the extra $1,000 or $2,000 in a deal. It's so short-sighted to be able to work with people over the last, for myself, I spent 10 years in public accounting and I hated it every day, but I spent 10 years and the value that I got was the education that I got. And I never knew what I was working toward, but look where I'm at now. It took me a short 4 years to get here, but it didn't take me a short 4 years. It took me a long 14 years because just because I didn't have my own business, just because I wasn't in real estate, doesn't mean that massive education I was getting working for somebody else in a miserable position. I was making the millions and millions of dollars that CityLife is bringing in now at that job, getting that education so that I could come here and be able to have a podcast and bring you on it and get the education that you're giving us. So I couldn't agree with that more. I love that. Appreciate it. Yeah, for sure. Where do we find you?
On social media that I post to from time to time. On Instagram, particularly, Rachel Maga.
Rachel, that's it?
That's it.
At Rachel Maga.
Yep.
On Instagram. Instagram's a go-to.
Trump blew up my last name. So
10-4 social. 10-4social.com.
10-4 social, yeah. 10-4 social.
What about a plug for the young entrepreneur?
Oh, so Bryce's Instagram.
Yes, great.
Maga, MAGA.made, MADE.designs.
Maga.made.designs to get your latest personalized custom art gifts. Find Rachel on social, 10-4social.com. I'm assuming if you're looking for some help in your social media world to get that kicked off, to get that running. These guys are absolutely fantastic at it. We've worked with them many times in the past on special projects and different things. So if you're in the market, give these guys a shout. I appreciate you coming on today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Rachel.
Good talking.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
We'll talk soon. Thank you.